Hello, this is Spencer Israel's inner monologue. Today was a good morning. I had oatmeal with little dinosaurs in it for breakfast. I feel like a big boy today. And for lunch, my girlfriend packed me cinnamon applesauce. Wow, she reminds me of someone. I think it's my mom. I really love my girlfriend. Today's going to be a great day. Oh, I was also given this cool cup by my mentor, Joel Elkanen, who also reminds me to always moisturize my hands. He says, I have the softest hands. At night, I wear cotton gloves after applying petroleum to my hands to keep them soft for my job at Benzinga. I'm a good boy. Apple juice. Oh, song change.
What's up, everyone? That was my inner monologue. If you didn't know, it's going constantly.
It's the we got the sample Neuralink unit from Neuralink,
right?
One of Elon Musk's ventures.
Mm.
That was interesting. Was that accurate?
It's pretty not all of it, but some parts were accurate. Some parts are more accurate than others. Put it that way.
How's it going, boys?
I'm lost in the conversation. I don't know what we're talking about.
Good.
That's right where I like you.
Never gonna revisit that ever again. So.
What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to Benzinga's Get Technical. I'm your host, just one of many, Neal Hamilton. With me today are the handsome, brilliant, but also got an edgy bad boy side, Spencer Israel and producer AB.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the brilliant. Spencer gets the edgy bad boy.
There you go. He rides that motorcycle to work every day. Doesn't wear a helmet.
Honda Grom.
That Honda. He rides that Honda in. He's always talking. He always brings it up in a conversation. My Honda this, my Honda that. Like, Spencer, dude, we're talking about no one doing the dishes in the office. He's like, yeah, well, if I didn't do an oil change on my Honda, I would definitely be upset. So I kind of understand what you're saying. And that's where this was born. From Spencer's little biking community thing that he's forced here at Benzinga. Guys, I want to show you a chart. Now, producer AB, you were with me. I've been talking about Palantir. What have I been saying about Palantir? Tell me what I've been saying.
Yada yada, bottom this, bottom that, rounding bottom. We're gonna see a breakout, rocket ship. Something along those lines.
Pretty much right. And then we've had some other folks come on the show. And what did they say about Palantir?
They said, I think Neal's right. He's a brilliant guy.
No, that's not what they said, dude.
Who are you referring to?
I'm not going to name names, but two people that are awesome and I have a lot of respect for said, meh, I don't think so.
I'm not going to name names either, Neal. I know who you're talking about.
But what now? What now? All right. So I know a couple of viewers are in this trade, or at the very least watching it with the diligence of a hawk-eyed rat, a hybrid of technical analysis. Captain Cappy is one of those. Make sure you follow Captain Cappy on Twitter. Producer AB, if you've got his handle, drop that shit in there because this guy is a TA beast. I love this guy's posts, and I'm honored to have him in this chat. Dog with toupee. And Ver 3 for you. Couple snake hisses for you. So let's do a couple things. One is the breakout happened just like we expected. The structure prevails. All right. Cue Emperor Palpatine laugh.
Tee-hee.
I want to see a Star Wars with Emperor Palpatine with just Michael Jackson quotes dubbed over it the whole time.
We could make that and become very rich.
Oh my god. Oh shit. That's really good. So what Miles pointed out is that he anchored the VWAP. I believe, was it all-time high VWAP or was it the year? I'm just gonna do it right now. I got the 1 month VWAP up on this biznitch. So this VWAP, this green line here on Palantir. So what we're doing here is we're looking at the structure we've been talking about on Get Technical for a while, which is Palantir sold off, and everyone, dude, so many haters coming on the show that were like, "What? You're not an ape? You're not going to buy Palantir right now? I'm never letting go." Well, it was like, I just want to wait until it's lower so I can have a better entry. That's it. That's it. You know. So we got the running bottom, which is when you got that reversal, which is the end of a downward trend. So we wanted to see the end of that downward trend, and so we have all the indications here that we've got that. It's actually a head and shoulders reversal pattern. And then so we finally got earnings for Palantir, and it popped. It popped from this line of support here that we drew yesterday, I think, or maybe previously. It popped up about 16%. So really nice. And this is the ground floor. It will go up, it will go down, it will break resistance, it will probably break support at a few points. But the overall structure, of course, guys, is one of these. All right. You've got your accumulation. So down here, and then you've got your markup phase. And so what we're trying to do here on Get Technical is always get on the ground floor of new trends. All right, so we can ride this sucker all the way up until it starts to top out again, which it previously did. Look, it already did. It did it before, and then it marked down. Now we accumulated nice broad base. So that means the next markup is going to be bigger than the previous. That means beating the all-time highs. And then what did you do with the VWAP, Captain Cappy? Where did you have it anchored to? Right now I have it anchored to the monthly, which is showing. So like, since after we get this nice gap, we want to understand support so we can see if there's entry potential. And I'm looking at this thing on the daily. My RSI is set to 14. I'm going to set it to 10, so it's a little bit more sensitive. So just note that on 14, we're not overbought yet. On 10, we're close. Still room to run, babies. All right. See, this thing has gotten pretty well overbought in the past before it's gotten its big sell-offs. So still room to run after a 16-ish% bump. So I got the VWAP just anchored to the beginning of August. That's this green line. Kind of support here. It's just about where that the low of the day has been. Let's get down to the hourly. That kind of messes it up. Let's keep it on the day. Less RAM, yes. And namaste, Emperor. So I want to do something with the VWAP. I want to anchor it to the year and see what happens. So wait. That's volume profile. This one. Right now, anchor it to the month. Now let's anchor it to the year and just see what it does. Nope. Nothing interesting there. Quarter? Nothing interesting there. It doesn't let you do to the all-time high, which is super lame. Earnings. Not super lame. The month. There is one, I think, that lets me put in the exact day, but I'm not going to mess with it. This is fine right now. We've got the VWAP as support. Let's pull in some moving averages. Usually the 65 lines up. The 65 exponential moving average lines up pretty well with that VWAP. Yeah, and you can see it's been a line of resistance. So the 65 EMA is this yellow line. Resistance yesterday, broken out well above it. Let's get on the 10-week, the Samantha LeDuc. That should be a thick boy. Why is it? Oh, yeah, it is a thick boy. And that has been the support here. So we are flying high here, and we've got a launch pad of shares held. that we got a breakthrough. And once we do, looking for this level right here.
So would you look for that volume to be higher than the previous all-time high as well?
Would I look for like the volume by time? Like, so on the, wait, can you explain that?
So like if you zoom out a little bit and you to where we can see the previous all-time highs.
Yeah.
We'll zoom in a little bit.
Yep. Here, and I'll delete this crap.
You see those two big green bars of volume in a row?
Yes, I do. But after earnings,
right?
Back in the day. Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, if we're going to all-time highs, would you also be looking for volume to surpass those all-time highs?
No, it doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to. So we're not looking. Okay.
The key here is above average volume. So it's relative to what has happened within recent days and months. So we've got this yellow line, which is our 20-day moving average. You can see that this is like, what is this, like 6 to 7 times the average volume
right
we got after earnings. Big breakout sign. So what I would be looking for is just continued above average volume, continued momentum on the RSI, and the price to be doing the same thing. Once the price starts to do the opposite thing of those two indicators, that can be an early sign that you're going to have a trend change. So ongoing trend to be confirmed by those two things. So yes, but it doesn't have to be exact, right? And also bear in mind here that these 2 days were not at the all-time high. They were right at the point where basically, what is this line? What the hell was that? An invisible line? Basically, Palantir found what was sort of the bottom for a while. That was people buying at what they perceived to be support and then driving it up and keeping it up there for a while. So there's a shitload of people buying, but it wasn't enough to outweigh the sellers or to beat them, at least on moving the price. And we sort of traded within this area for quite some time. But the way that I'm looking at this is that this is our rounding bottom, or our, you can see it kind of clearly if you're looking at the weekly, our head and shoulders reversal pattern making our accumulation. And there ain't nothing wrong with a stock coming out of accumulation. Year to date, all-time high in IPO for VWAP. So does it do IPO on here? God, it's so stupid. We gotta get what's his name, Pierce, on the phone. Week, quarter, year, decade, earnings, dividend splits. Yeah, sweet. No, we're just gonna use the month for now. But thank you, Miles. Others, if you're able to do that, there are indicators on if you're using TradingView, or if you're using Trendspider, it's gonna be a lot easier, where you can anchor your VWAP to the time frames that we've got Captain Cappy on here for. He's found that the VWAP has lined up as support here. At any rate, I really like the stock where it is now. We're just coming out of accumulation. Can it go back down? Yes. Is the broader structure telling me it's going to go up? Or at least that there's a very high likelihood? Yeah, it is. Yeah, sure is. There's room to go on this one.
Yeah, I think we can be looking for this in the near future to go back toward those previous all-time highs.
Yeah, that's the idea. So at least. So the way that I would do this, so if you guys want to project, if you want to pontificate about your expectations, you can take number one, the head of your head and shoulders, bring it up to the neckline, which I'll say is right about here. And that line's right up about with the resistance here. So if we get down to daily, we'll probably get a little more detail around that line. Yeah. So it's right about there. So that lines up well. But we pull in the Fibonacci, we go to that all-time high, we go to that the ensuing low, then you start to have some fun. Notice that the 0.382 is lining right up with resistance. That's your next target. So next target on Palantir, boom, right here, purple line. Let me I'll make that green, make it very visible. Lining right up, perfect Fibonacci. And I'll stamp it. Next target on Palantir is going to be 27. And then these lines are lining up perfectly. The Fibonacci is your friend with Palantir. This is just a super great technical stock. Ultimate goal is going to be up here at the 1.68, 618, 1.68. So which is with Palantir, I'm thinking ain't nothing crazy at all. And people will tell you that it's crazy, but you know what? They don't know. $62 for Palantir, which from its current price, it's going to be 150%. So I'm keeping commons and Palantir in my portfolio. No, I don't have any leaps. I wish I would have gotten leaps during this consolidation phase. Oh man, I wish I would have gotten leaps. If we consolidate a little bit, I'll grab some. Another one I want to look at that's in a similar situation to Palantir. So Palantir, we love it, right? Will it go back down? Maybe. Doesn't matter. The broader structure prevails because just like the Spice Girls say, we ziggy ziggy zigga ah down and we ziggy 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 zigga ah up. So you know.
And then Neal, before our illustrious guest gets here, he's joining a little bit early today.
Okay.
Oh, we got Airbnb. Never mind. I was going to tell you that I had a stock on my juicy bottom watch list that's showing some signs of life today. But let's check Airbnb real quick first.
Absolutely. So Airbnb has earnings after the close today. How do you think Airbnb is going to do? Oh shit, we got Jake W today.
Yeah, shout out new father. Congratulations, Jake.
Congratulations, Jake. Damn. Okay, only illustrious guests on Get Technical. All right, guys, give us some likes for these fantastic educational guests. We only get the best here. Get that like, and remember, if we get to 100 likes, you do get the Spice Girls at the end. Yeah, we're looking at Airbnb here. How do you think they're going to do on earnings, AB?
I think they're going to do well, but that's just pure speculation. I have nothing backing that up. I just know I got a bunch of degenerate buddies that are going around like, oh, we should get an Airbnb in Nashville this weekend. It's like every weekend they're getting a new Airbnb. I'm like, damn.
No one I talk to is like, let's book a hotel unless they're like doing it through work or something like that. And even at work, a lot of the times we do Airbnb. I do for work trips when I'm going by myself.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't want that big ass expensive bill to show up and then Jason Raznick to text me in the middle of the night. Like Jason Raznick text me like he'll just do $? and then I have to figure out what that means. And then finally I come back around. It's like, oh yeah, it's because I got the hotel and I booked the spa thing.
Rented a few movies.
Yeah. So okay, let me delete my drawings on Airbnb. So Aaron Bree very astutely pointed out that it's got a juicy bottom. Someone in chat said that Kindred do that they love the Spice Girls, which we do. We have a lot of reverence for the Spice Girls here and Get Technical. It's kind of if you don't like them, GTFO.
Door's that way.
The door is right behind you. Don't let it hit you in your ass, your little skinny ass. Your flat pancake ass. All right, so Airbnb, someone mentioned that they're not getting a lot in Europe. I'd be interested to actually see the numbers on that versus something anecdotal. At any rate, we shall see. But the structure is what it is. And you know what? If they do poorly on earnings like BGFV, or wait, how did BGFV do? BGFV earnings, they beat. But I wonder if their forecast is bad because they had a little sell-off after earnings, so I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they had a monster sell-off after earnings, but they still did the thing that I thought they would do. Is kind of the point here. So there's a big sell-off after earnings, but still getting out of this accumulation phase. BGFE is another one that matches the pattern on these stocks that we're looking at here. But I want to get back to Airbnb because that's my long-term one. I want this one to print cash over the next 2 years kind of thing. Exactly, A. Peters. Bye, Spice Girl haters.
Bye.
See ya. Yeah, why don't you get you and your little extra small underwear out of here. Last round, can we get them on the show? We literally have them on the show every time we get to 100 likes. That's all it takes to get the Spice Girls, all of them. including Ginger. Yeah. Airbnb. Look where it's at. Look where it's at. See this dotted line? I don't know if you guys can see that. It's right here on the volume by price. That's the line in the sand. All right. So we might get bad earnings for a bad earnings forecast, because remember, guys, when you're talking about earnings, what's really going to affect the investor opinions about an asset is not what they did, it's what they think they're going to do. So it's not whether they beat or miss on earnings per share for the previous quarter or for the quarter being talked about. It's what they forecast they're going to do during the next quarter. That has the highest correlation with the ensuing price change. So we're watching for those forecasts. At any rate, looks like 2 misses in a row. Whatever. I'm here for it. I see the structure. I understand it. I want to trade it. I'm in it right now. We can see that it's above the VWAP. We just got to break out of this. And as our guest can attest to, he might have a little bit of a different take on it. But we've got a little launch pad here on volume by price. So if we do break above this, Airbnb. All right, guys. So yeah, guys, give me a 1 if you think Airbnb is going to have smiley face happy earning results. Give me a 2 if you think they're going to have frowny face bad earning results today after the close.
Yeah, I'm like you, Neil. I'm more concerned about the guidance than anything else. The only thing that I could fear with the guidance today is that if the company says something along the lines of they're worried about travel because of Delta variant, yada yada, but you know, who cares?
Yeah. I'm with you 100% on that. That is a serious consideration. That they'll probably want to get ahead of before an analyst asks them the question.
Right. And I think that's something that actually a lot of good companies do, is they aren't trying to, give, like, they want to tamper expectations so that they can beat them down the road. But who knows? I don't know anything that's going to happen today with Airbnb earnings. Otherwise, I'd have a crystal ball. That'd be pretty cool. But,
Yeah, so we're getting a real mixed bag, which is, I like it. I like it, guys. Captain Cappy, if they mention Delta issues, Captain Cappy is looking for a clearance sale on Airbnb.
Buy the dip opportunity.
Options. Yeah. Oh, Daniel!
Whoa,
Look at
Daniel.
Tell me more, Daniel. Let's go. Link me to a chart. Tell us why, Daniel, and then we're gonna get on. How many likes do we have?
Not enough for Spice Girls. I'll tell you that much, Neil.
Do you know how to play the Spice Girls? Do you want me to link you to it so you can do it? Because I have to take off early.
I don't know if I'll be able to make him dance like you do.
I think he's just trying to be edgy, but I'm not sure. Although I think Daniel's been on the show and has had some interesting calls.
Oh no, Daniel's great. But he's like doing that thing where you try to be a little extra edgy, just get some more attention and love out of your parents. But
so I'm gonna link you to where you can play it just in case we get it, which I doubt that these incels are. Yeah, that's right. I doubt that these incels will get us to 100 likes. All right, so if you guys want to finally move out of your grandma's basement and stop playing World of Warcraft and eating Cheetos and get a girlfriend, you'll get this video to 100 likes and you'll get the Spice Girls. Yuck,
girlfriend. Real quick, Neil, if you have a couple minutes before we bring Jake on, I want to check out Array, ticker ARRY. I think we've looked at it before, but it's been forming a broad bottom. I'm talking like a Kim K bottom.
Oh, geez.
We're seeing some life out of it today, up 9%. The company reported not so great earnings a few days ago.
Which one is it?
Ticker ARRY. So if you go out on kind of a longer term.
Wait, AR. Oh, I had 2 R's. All right. Okay. Yeah, it is popping. Dude, look at this gap, baby. All right, what do you got to say?
I'm saying that okay, so we had that big sell-off, right? You can see where it dropped down to that level, and then it starts consolidating. That's where it's forming a little bottom. And I think what we're seeing today, up about 9-10%, could be the start of something new, the start of an uptrend coming out of this bottom, back up to those previous price levels. Maybe it's a little tease. Maybe it comes down a little bit tomorrow. But I think overall, when you look at that chart, you see the bottom. It's juicy. It looks good. It looks poised for a breakout. So yeah, I might want to wait a couple days to see like multiple green candles in a row before that uptrend is truly established. And then I'm in there eating that bottom all day long.
Holy smokes. Guys, give us a like. Give us a like for that. I like this, man. I like this a lot. Price target for just this little rounding bottom action is a bit higher, so it's still got room to go. Sweet stock, man.
Yeah, man.
You're a wizard, Ari.
All right, without further ado,
let's bring on our most illustrious guest. Is you ready? Jacob, nod yes if you're ready. That's the most ready nod I've ever seen. All right, let's bring him on. Jake, what's up, dude?
Hello.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty good. It's Thursday, you know. Some of the stocks we've been looking at are coming out of some real broad bases, starting to grow a bit. I'm a little bit mad that my stops got triggered on a few of them, so I didn't enter before some big pops. But I'm really liking the market right now. Delta variant be damned. I mean, we shall see. But yeah, how is your day going, man?
Hey, it's going good. Had a nice morning in HIMS today.
Yes.
Got a little bit of a reversal there. I think it's kind of like ARRY, kind of like, I think, we've kind of probably bottomed, at least in the medium term. We'll see. But I added some on the weakness today. We'll see what happens. But yeah, anytime you got, a gap up, a big move to the upside, and then you've got kind of, some consolidation, that's pretty common. People just taking profit, getting out. And that sets a new base for the next leg, because all these people that are selling after a gap up are creating new buyers at that level, which kind of moves up your supply and demand areas. So that's one that did pretty good. I decided that to drop Wish. I have no plans on trying to hold that through earnings and trying to be a hero. I already held through HIMS, and that was a little risky. But I have been getting a lot of questions about earnings. Why do you hold some earnings? Why do you not hold some earnings? And my reasoning for holding HIMS on that huge dip was that this thing has dropped so much. You don't have a lot of room to get any more bad news. Like most of that news, if it was bad, was likely priced in with that type of flush. Whereas Wish has lows of 875 or something. So if we get any type of one not a great earnings, our lows are 10, or they were 10% plus below when I got out. I got out at like 982 or something. And so, I'm not going to hold into possibly testing lows. On top of that, I think the trade is overcrowded. I know there's a lot of people that love it and they, think it's going to go higher. That's great. I hope it does go higher, because there's a lot of people who are like all in that stock. But, that's kind of the thing I look for in earnings. If something's really tanked into earnings, I'm willing to hold it, because likely a lot of that, if there is bad news, is priced in. Whereas if we're not trading near the lows, I'd rather just drop it and move on. But
dude, I'm really glad that you started with those tickers in particular, because I know a ton of people that watch this, and myself included, have been trading Wish. But HIMS we've brought up on this show many times, I think, throughout this weekend, the past week. And that's one where my stop triggered. I got shook out of it. But the point that you made is something that is something I've wondered about. I would have probably asked you about it, which is for Hims, it was an all-time low. There's no previous low. How much further can this thing go down? And so you had resolve to take that thing on the dip. Whereas with Wish, you know that this thing can hit lower levels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, if this thing goes back to where it was at those previous lows, I'm not holding through that. Like, hell no.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of why I dropped the Wish, because if there are bad earnings, or if there's even earnings that are just right in line and everybody's like thinking, this is going to go higher, everybody's going to sell the news. It's going to be sell the news event. So like for me, I'm like, maybe I take the loss and move on. Took a small loss. I think I got in around like 1037, stopped out at 982 or whatever it was, and just moved on. I think it's trading at like 935 or something right now. So saved some money there and decided to enter another position. So I personally don't like to trade a lot of stocks at once. One, Trendspider has pretty much my full time all the time. I try to post as much as I can on my personal account for trade ideas, but I don't have a lot of time to be in front of the screen, buying and selling constantly. I don't have time for it. So for me, I find a couple stocks that I really like, and I just focus on those. So if I can share my screen, I'll go over a couple, and we can look at Airbnb real quick.
Yeah, that would be great. Go ahead and do that. I have to take off. I have an engagement with the local Secretary of State.
Oh wow!
So wish me luck on that. But I will leave you in the strong.
Wait, what?
The strong but maternal and capable hands of producer AB and Money Mitch. So Jake, really good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on the show. I will see you next time.
Absolutely.
And to everyone else, make sure you get us up to 100 likes if you want to dance.
Or no Spice Girls. We still need 13 more likes for Spice Girls. Neal, what you said you have jury duty?
Yep.
Cool. Good luck.
Thanks.
He did it.
All right.
It's a very very good thing to do as a Samaritan.
Wait, so Jake, I want to know real quick, because you brought up Array. Was that something on your watch list previously, or did you just see us looking at it?
No, I just saw you guys mention it when I was in kind of the backstage. So, but kind of same thing. I mean, it was almost at, trend lows. And so, if you've already priced in pretty much any bad news, any type of beat, or even, not a disappointment's generally going to move.
Yeah, something kind of similar I've been watching is SDC, Smile Direct Club, which I think it's still coming down right now. But I think if we do see that same thing where it hits a level that it starts consolidating and trading sideways, where it's like, all right, how much lower can this thing really go? Like, all this bad news is priced in. So yeah, this one's on my watch list.
Yeah, I had a position in this. I just bought like a small options position just to play the earnings. It got destroyed and I just sold it today. But yeah, this is a great example of why technical analysis doesn't always work, especially with earnings. You can have and I mentioned this earlier in the week, you can have a great setup and earnings can completely destroy it. This is a great example of that. So yeah, SDC was one. I think I pretty much took a full loss on it. But like I said, I kept my position small. I actually have this in a longer term account, way the fuck up, or way the freak, way up at like $12. I'm just waiting.
Dear.
But it's another like very like, it was a starter position. I'm like looking at this. I'm like, I'm not adding. There's still plenty of time for this thing to move lower. And I mean, technically it could hit the COVID lows in the $3 area. And it's always to see like, there's a lot of IPO stories that have had 75% drawdowns from their IPO high or their IPO prices. And you look at them now and they're hundreds of percent up. Somebody showed me a stock a couple weeks ago. I forgot what it was, but we looked back at the IPO and it literally dropped 75% at the IPO, found a base, and now it's up, I don't know, a couple 100% from there. So, sometimes these things take a while to base and for something to happen. So SDC is definitely one that I do have in a longer term account, but it's not something that I'm really going to probably add to unless, something on the longer term chart changes. I'm usually looking at weekly, monthly stuff. So like Airbnb, for example, this is a chart I made a couple weeks ago. You kind of had your double bottom form. You had the breakout of this descending triangle. And if you're looking at the volume by price, this is why we're having some trouble getting through this area. We're kind of trading right in this supply zone. And remember, anytime the price is below one of these shelves and goes into the shelf, it's going to be supply, because imagine that you bought Airbnb at 150, it drops all the way down to 130, and you're back to break even. You or an average person is probably going to take some off the table. I talk to my brother pretty often about the markets now, which is awesome because he's never really been into it. And there's a couple times where he'll say, yeah, I'm just in a couple of these positions and I'm just waiting to break even and I'm getting out. And I guarantee he's not the only one that thinks that way. It's a pretty natural way to think. So that's why you can look at these as supply zones, because all of this big volume shelf, these nodes highlight people that got in over here at 149, 150. And so as the price gets back there, the market just has to digest some of that, what I like to call break-even selling. It's just people breaking even, they're getting out, they're selling, that's adding supply onto the market, and that's why we've had some trouble breaking through this area. But yeah, Airbnb, I mean, we'll have to see. I really don't know. I mean, that's one that, kind of has already made a pretty big move. This would be not one that I'd hold into earnings. Why? Well, we bottomed at 130 and we're at 140. We're at pretty much 150 now. So it's already gone up, 15+% in the last month. And so, that's the kind of thing that I probably wouldn't hold through. That's the reason why I didn't hold UPST through earnings, because it had already moved from 114 all the way to 140. And you just don't want to get caught in that and not, lock in your profits. So that was kind of the reason why I held HIMS. We were at a low. I mean, it was going to take a lot of pretty bad data for this thing to go any lower. And they had pretty good earnings. So HIMS is one that I'm in. I actually added today. I think my average now is literally right at the price that we're at, right around 823. Thesis here on the longer term side of things, you've got the volume shelf here from the all-time highs. This means a lot of volume is holding here. You can see the range of this candle. I mean, massive outside bar. And the main thing that I'm focused on, at least on the weekly chart, is there's no volume up here. It's just like a black hole of no liquidity. So what happens is the price can drop through these volume gaps, but they can also move very quickly through them, especially if you've got a base like this forming with the volume shelf. That's something that I personally like to look for. So I don't think I would stop out of this one for probably a while, just because this is the average true range on a stock is what you really need to pay attention to. If you're trading a stock and it's moving, from the highs and lows 5+% in a day, and you're stopping out on a 2% move, you're never going to win. Maybe if you're an Apple and you stop out on a 2% move, it makes sense because you don't have that much variation in the price. But the thing that, I focus on, especially with something like HIMS, is it's got a big range. So that was another thing that I kept in mind, when this thing flushed the other day, was well, this is kind of common. This is stop loss heaven for people trying to knock stops out. So for me, I like HIMS. Anytime you've got a gap up like we did, it's very common to get a pullback. I was talking to my friend today about this. I'm yeah, we may have a little bit of a pullback after we open. And that's exactly what happened. And it's pretty natural for that to happen. People are taking profits. People are, maybe just oh, I have this at $10. I just want to get out and, maybe close to break even. But for me, my thesis here is simple. We gapped up above the anchor VWAP. We broke above these highs. That's important. And now we're just retesting the volume shelf. So there's nothing really, too out of the ordinary here. It's holding right where it needs to, right at the point of control. And you've got this other volume node here, which would kind of create the shelf. But yeah, if we anchor a VWAP from the highs, the anchored VWAP is right around 962 or so. And so that would be kind of my target above initially. But I mean, if you look at, and of course I deleted all this that I made, but if you look at the earnings kind of map of this and what's happened in the past, you'll see something pretty interesting. So let's just get rid of the volume by price and just look at price action here for a second. So the main thing that I'm focused on, again, look what happened last time that we had this type of move down. And this is something that also kept me in the trade yesterday. But, we tanked into last earnings. And the last earnings in May was really good. What happened? We gapped up, pulled back a little bit. We hit highs, but then we closed almost right where we opened. Now here you can see that's not the case as of now. But who knows? There's still quite a bit of time left in the day. We'll have to see what happens. Some people think this gap below around, let's say, 791 is going to fill. It could. But for me, if you look at where we're at compared to the last earnings, very similar setup. Huge sell-off into earnings, huge sell-off into earnings. This dropped like 49% from the previous earnings high, and that was your bottom. This dropped around 53% from this high after earnings came out. And so this looks like it's kind of bottoming to me. And, if we just look at the measured move, the measured move is simply just taking a previous move and applying it to maybe a similar signal like we have now. And you kind of show that here. Let's say that we close right around 823 to 825 today. That measured move above would still put this around 13 or 14 bucks if it mimicked anything similar to this move here. So that's kind of my thesis there. But one thing that I actually have been looking at pretty much for the last probably month, and I just haven't really gotten into it because it was looking crappy. Finally, Penn is looking good, and I'll kind of go over my thesis there. So Penn is the newest trade that I took. I got into the $85 calls for October 15th. And do I think that this could hit $85 before October 15th? Absolutely. Honestly, I think this could probably hit $80 to $85 by the end of August. But I'm not going to try to be a hero and nail that. If I think that this is going to hit $85 by August, I'm going to buy myself almost 2 months of time. A lot of people go in, they say, well, I bought this option. All I need is this to be $80 by August, whatever the expiration is at the end of August, and I'm going to make money. That's not how it works. You need to really have that move a lot sooner before your expiration. So for me personally, I mean, on the daily candle, you've got this bull flag breakout. You've got a really nice setup here. Actually has moved quite a bit since the last time I looked at it.
Yeah, I was going to say here in the last 20 minutes, it's moved a lot.
Yeah, so you've got, price going up, hitting new high of day, like textbook. So let me zoom in if people can't see this too well. And let me make my screen a little more zoomed. So hopefully that helps for some of the comments. I can't see the symbols that well. But anyways, so you've got the bull flag breakout. You've got the perfect retest. You've got a little bit of an undercut here on the flag resistance. That's pretty common. So once we kind of retested that flag resistance, I'm like, I'm in. There's no way I'm not at least getting in, a longer term option on this. So you got the breakout. Now my target is simply a function of these previous highs. So like if you were kind of wanting to stage this out for different targets, these were also some of your previous highs on the move down. So your initial target would definitely be, let's say, around 78 to right around 79. 80 is a psychological level, so I'd probably even put 80 in the mix there. So if we do test this area, then my next target would be that 85. And like I said, I think this could pull this type of move. I think it could probably do something like this. And if you look at the line here, that's by August 24th. So even if we did something like this, that's August 24th. If these $85 calls go in the money by August 24th, then I'm going to be very happy with, my position. And, I'm not like trying to be the hero and say, well, I got $85 on, September 1st. That doesn't matter. It matters how much time you buy yourself. You have to look at the Greeks. The implied volatility on this was pretty low. The delta was pretty high. It was like a 0.58 delta. So like you have to look at the Greeks if you're getting in this stuff. And so that's one thing I looked at. That's the reason why I didn't trade Wish options really after one time. The implied volatility was too high. You needed to have like a 5 or 6 impulse move on the spot price to really even move some of those options. And so like whenever you have implied volatility over 100, I look at that as more as an option to sell covered calls instead of going to try to trade the premium. That's just the way I kind of look at it. It makes more sense to me. But like I said, for Wish, I had a position. Somebody said, well, why don't you sell covered calls on it? Well, because I have no connection to Wish. I don't care about it fundamentally. I don't care about it, you know, from an emotional standpoint. I'm not like, you know, I know a lot of people are in the whole like Wish family type of thing. That's awesome. But I'm not getting into a stock because everybody's, you know, going to slap their butts together when, you know, we hit we get a big move up. Like I'm not in it to feel like a family, right? Like I'm in it to make money. So if it looks like it's breaking down, then I'm going to get out. And that's why I did that today, and just not worth the earnings risk. So Penn, though, we've got the bull flag breakout on the weekly chart. That's what really caught my attention for a couple of reasons. So I like to look at the MACD every now and then when you've got a really big move to the downside. So you can see here, you've got the MACD curling. And one thing I'll point out here is I'm looking at the MACD curling. I'm not looking at the MACD crossing. Why? Because if you look here, when the MACD crossed back in May of 2020, after a decent kind of roll here, you can see that the MACD crossed on this big impulse candle. I'm not going to buy options or buy a position after this type of move. I want to look for when the MACD is starting to curl. And so that's why I like it here. The MACD's curling. It hasn't crossed yet. I would probably sell on an impulse move with the MACD cross. I'm not here to like, you know, try to get the whole move. I mean, I'm here to, especially like with options, right? I think a lot of people forget positions and risk, right? If I wanted to buy Penn today, I could have bought let's say I wanted to buy a $50,000 position on Penn. I could have done that and held common stock and not had to worry about the option, you know, decaying and all that. And if I had, let's say, a 10% stop or a 5% stop, you know, that's $5,000. Or if I went into a $5,000 position in the options trade, knowing that I could lose it all, you're risking the same amount. A 10% stop loss on $50,000 is the same thing as pretty much going into a $5,000 position in an options contract expecting that you could lose it all. Now, most people are going to stop out. I would probably stop out too, but you have to look at it that way. Like, it's all about position size and risk. You can buy a $50,000 common stock position and have a 10% stop, which is $5,000 loss, or you go into a $5,000 position with options and have an idea that you can lose it all, and it's the same risk. So that's just the way I kind of look at it. So Penn, for example, I decided to go into the options because it looks like it's primed for a big move, so I can make a little more money on, you know, an impulse move up. And then on top of that, I don't have to use as much capital. So that was my thesis for getting in. You know, if we use the volume by price from the COVID lows, look at how big this volume shelf is. You've got this huge area here where price has been respecting this area. You've got a lot of shares starting to aggregate here. So if you look at some of these other candles, I mean, look at this candle here from August of 2020. You had a 42% move up in 1 week. You look at this one over here, same thing, 23% move up in 1 week. So this can move up very quickly, just like it can move down very quickly. Look at this candle from June 14th, 2021, down 13% 1 week. This thing can move very quickly when it moves. And so that's the reason why I definitely decided to buy options on this and take advantage of a potentially pretty strong impulse move to the upside rather than, you know, have to buy a lot more common stock. So I did mention that in my personal account, kind of why I'm I'm in the trade. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going through the chat right now. What time period does Jake use for charting? Mostly the daily, weekly, and monthly. There's some times where like I'll look at a 65-minute candle, maybe a 15-minute candle, but most of my thesis is based on a longer term setup, like Penn. You know, this is the weekly setup. This is the daily setup. I wouldn't go any deeper than this in like, you know, a short term time frame. So
yeah, I was actually watching Penn on a little shorter time frame, and it moved all the way up, and then it was down about 0.7% in the matter of 10 minutes. So the stock definitely moves a lot, which makes it fun for trading options because you want that volatility. You don't really want to trade options on a stock that can't move in whichever direction you're betting it's going to move. But yeah, this is one that I'm definitely adding. I'm actually looking at the same calls right now that you got. I believe the $85 strike for October 15th looks enticing. I just wish I would have gotten in today or before that move up.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I stop out and I move on. But it's got everything that I look for. And so that's why I really like it here, just because it's kind of got all those signature moves. It's kind of like if you go play blackjack, you have a hand that if you go play blackjack and you get a hand, let's say that you get, 2 tens. You've got an edge. It doesn't really matter what the dealer's holding. I mean, if he's showing a face card, yeah, you could possibly break even if he flips a face. And once you get through like him checking or her checking to see if there's an ace under there and there's not one, then you are guaranteed to at least keep your money. So I look at it the same way. I look at the patterns over and over again. I'm looking at the same setup. Like, I'm not going and trading one stock with one strategy and trading another stock with another strategy. I'm trading the same setup just on different stocks. So for me, this is just literally the same setup really as HIMS, except it's in an uptrend rather than a downtrend. So same thing though. You've got the volume shelf. You've got this recent falling wedge breakout. You've got earnings out of the way. That's a big one. The fact that earnings are out of the way, and I keep having some people ask, "What is this?" This is the Penn. This is the Penn chart.
Yeah, I've got the ticker scrolling across the bottom. I don't know. I mean,
yeah. You want to know what we're talking about? It's literally right under us, at least under the chart. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But have you traded this one often or traded before? This is actually the first time I'll trade this one. But like I said, I've been watching this for probably 2 months, just kind of waiting for the time to kind of strike, kind of like a lion just sitting there for 5 hours waiting for the time to kind of pounce on on the whatever he's hunting. Same thing here. UPST did the same thing. I'd never traded UPST before, but I had an idea of its personality. I had an idea of what the chart looked like because I'd been looking at it for 2 months. And so sometimes I'll look at a chart for 2 months before I even take a position because you have to learn the personality. Just like if you go play poker, you're probably not going to sit down and go ridiculously heavy the first hand because you need to learn who's at the table. You need to learn people's bluffs. You need to learn who's controlling the table, who's got all the money. It's the same thing with the stock. You have to learn its personality. And then once you learn its personality, you can get a little more conviction that way.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at my history on Penn right now, and I'm just all over the place. So last February, before even the COVID crash, I bought some $40 calls. I think that was right after the Barstool announcement. Those didn't go well because then the market crashed. Then I had $12 calls in March once it dropped all the way down there. Then at one point I bought $3 puts on it. I don't know what I was thinking there, but I sold those like the next day, it looks like, for a small loss. But then most recently in January of 2021, I bought $100 calls, which I don't know why, but I felt convicted on it because it's a lot bigger of a position than I normally do, but ended up making some good money, sold those for about 100% profit the next day. So yeah, I've traded Penn before. Like I said, I think I'm going to tail you, get into these $85 calls, and just hope we ride this wave back up.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the reason why I'm like, okay, looking at the weekly candle and the weekly chart right now is because it's Thursday, halfway through the day, right? Like I would really need to see this weekly candle form a little more if this was like a Monday or a Tuesday. But since it's Thursday and we've got this nice higher low, we're starting to get some momentum and we're starting to hit these weekly highs. I already know that most of the week is done. Like, we would really have to have a weird flush tomorrow for this weekly candle to look bad, which it can happen. And somebody mentioned on the chat, well, if the dealer flips a 5 and pulls a 6 or whatever, yeah, 100%. There's always risk on anything. I'm just looking at these pattern setups as hands in blackjack. Yes, unless I hit a 21, I'm not even guaranteed to win with a 21, like if the dealer hits a 21. But I know the probability of me winning is very high. So it's all about probabilities. It's all about statistics. It's all about recognizing a pattern that's happened before, what's worked for you, and then taking advantage of it, having conviction on the next time it does its thing. So weekly chart looks good. Daily chart, bull flag breakout, reminds me a lot of Boeing actually from last week. And then one other one I'll talk about. I mean, Fubo. I can't not talk about Fubo. I love this stock. I have it long term. This thing looks just amazing. So what I would think here on the daily chart, we broke out through this downward sloping trend. So we did break the trend. And it wouldn't shock me to get some type of pullback to retest this previous resistance and active support. That's pretty common. Like, I would want to see that for this to move higher. So even if it filled the gap, let's say right around 29, that's fine with me. If you look at the monthly chart, this is what really makes sense. You've got all the characteristics of an uptrend, right? You've got higher lows since June of 2019. You've got the volume shelf. If we look at the volume shelf from this capitulation point here, we're right at it. I mean, we pulled back right to it. We've got a strong monthly candle. Obviously, we still have half of the month left, but so far so good. And earnings are past. A lot of people who probably didn't want to get into Fubo because they had earnings now probably have more of a little more conviction. Like, okay, well, earnings is over. They were good. Things look good on the chart. I'm going to get in. That's where next level of demand comes in. So Fubo, long-term, love this thing. I'd be shocked if this thing doesn't hit new highs, at least for this year, for around 61, 62 by the end of the year. We'll see. I think a lot of people are concerned about the Delta variant and sports not coming back. We had sports in the middle of a pandemic. So you're going to tell me some Delta variant where a lot of the not a lot of the population, but a lot more of the population is vaccinated. Sports aren't going anywhere. There may be some rules that come in, maybe some capacity things, but they're not going to cancel sports this year. It's just not going to happen. They didn't cancel in the middle of a pandemic, so they're sure as hell not going to cancel it from a variant where people are already vaccinated.
We've seen the NFL basically mandating vaccines for their players. Haven't actually mandated, but they're essentially forcing players. I think they announced the NFL players are like 90% vaccinated. The owners are smart. They know they don't want to miss any games, lose out on all that money. So I agree. I don't think we're gonna see any sports being stopped out. At the very worst, we might see fans, limited capacity again. But then again, people will still be streaming the sports on Fubo and whatnot. All right, Jake. Well, we are coming up on the 2:00 mark. I see some people asking for tickers in the chat. Y'all can go to Jake's Twitter, tweet out your tickers. I'm going to put Jake's Twitter in the chat, and he'll try to get to your charts on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. I really don't have a lot of time to take requests, but what I do is, like, if I post something and I get 100 comments and there's a common theme, like, 20 people want to see RBLX, then I'll do it. But I definitely don't take like individual requests, especially if it's some random name that, nobody else is looking at. But I try to take as many requests as I can. And remember, all of these charts that we just went over are on Trendspider. If you guys want to check it out, the BZ25 is the 25% off coupon code that you can use to get your free trial and then get 25% off any plan after that. So thank you so much for having me. I love coming on the show during the middle of the day when kind of price action is evolving. And hopefully this was useful for some people watching.
Yeah, of course. We'll have to get you back on Get Technical again. All right, y'all. Thank you again, Jake, for joining us. I got Mitch here in the background hanging out. Mitch, how we doing? You ready for some Spice Girls?
Time to get weird?
Yeah, it's time. It's time. Let me know
don't.
Let me know if you can hear that.
So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I want it, 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 really, really, really want to take a shake. Take a shake, 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 take a shake.
Smash
Smash
that
it like
like,
team.
guys.
Smash it.
Smash,
Hit it.
smash up. All right, AB, you hold that down. Up next, guys, we're gonna do a little bit of a little throwback to Ryan. If you don't know who Ryan is, just stick around, find out. You just might like it.
Peace, y'all.